Okay, you guys, what is up? The King of Lightning is here today to do One Piece. Wow. That's right. One Piece chapter. No, wait, whoa, pause. Episode 617 review. Now, listen, okay? I'm gonna make this quick, to be honest, because like, to me, I think it's a shame because last week I gave it the highest possible rating, because it was smoker cute. It was Vergo set. It's full on arm and hockey up the wazoo, and then it was law. It was law. It was I can't Trafalgar Law. But this episode of One Piece. Alright, I mean, it has one good thing, in my personal opinion. And one good thing. And then there's one thing that I was like, fuck. And it's gonna tie into other stuff because people, I think, have the same issues when it comes to specifically this in anime. When you compare it to the manga and the anime One Piece, but I'll get to it when I get to it. Let me start off with the positive, and then we'll go to the negatives. The thing that I found the best in the entire episode was Vergo's warning to Law. Because after Vergo has a last-ditch effort to try and take out Law, fails. And after Law takes body parts of Vergo, which sounds kind of weird, and he hangs them up or sticks them against the metal railing. And we have him and Smoker walking away badass, like, the building's gonna explode. We out. Deuces. And like they walk away. We have Vergo talking a lot of stuff. I mean, he talks about the upstarts and how you don't understand and how you are, even though you just cut a mountain range in half because your room is disgusting, you are weak in comparison to the other guys in the New World. Of course, meaning guys like Yonko and so on and so forth. And then he includes Flamingo in that category. And then he says this to Law, and this is the key thing: you don't understand or you don't know about Flamingo's past, and because of that reason, you will die. Now, will Law die? In my personal opinion, no. And the reason why I say that is mainly because I see Law, Luffy, and Eustace in the same way Goldie Roger, the Golden Lion Cheeky, and Edward Newgate were seen back in the day. The best of the best in their generation. I mean, because I don't think anyone else, because Whitebeard and Cheeky, Whitebeard and Goldie Roger, those two are obvious. Like, they're legends. But Cheeky, like, you really can, because he was the first guy to break from Impel Down. They made a movie out of him. They put him in the canon, for Christ's sakes. So, Cheeky's a big name guy. I mean, I'm trying to think of pirates back in the day that were just as legendary as Cheeky. And aside from Whitebeard and Roger, I don't see anyone else. Yeah, I don't think anyone else is as legendary as those three guys are. So, but yeah, I don't see Law dying because I see him in the same regards as those, because again, Law, Luffy, and Eustace are the new generation of Goldie, Roger, Whitebeard, and Cheeky. But getting back to what I was saying earlier, the thing about this is that we've seen how deep the rabbit hole is when it comes to Flamingo. Flamingo has connections with Yonko because they want his product, and apparently, according to Caesar Clown, 2 countries wanted Shinokuni. Peaceful countries, but they were being threatened by enemies, and they wanted to eliminate those enemies by using Shinokuni by any means necessary. And Caesar Clown works for Don Quixote do Flamengo. At the same time, Quixote is a Shichibukai, and he has dudes that work for him that are in the Navy and the Marines. So the rabbit hole goes deep Flamingo is playing both ends. He's playing at both sides of the court. And he has amnesty by the world government because he's a Shichibukai. But what Vergo is implying here is that the rabbit hole that we thought was already deep goes even deeper. Because Law and us, at this point in time in the anime, do not understand, do not know about Flamingo's past. And because of that, Law will die. Now, that is a steep warning. That's a steep warning. And will in fact Vergo die? Because the room's going to explode. But again, in One Piece, we've seen characters like Pell take nukes and live. So I don't know if a room exploding in this laboratory is going to kill Vergo. But we'll see. But that's a good part. That's a good part. The rest of it, I mean, Sanji and Zoro and Robin and Nami, same stuff. Same stuff. Chopper, the same stuff. Frankie's on boat guard duty. Outside. But when you take a look at Usopp, his purpose in this episode was, he didn't really do anything to Caesar Clown's subordinates, because at that point in time, when he actually stood in front of them, their spirits were already broken, because their master had betrayed them, and now they finally see what Brownbeard was talking about. Guinea pigs. But the reason why he was there was to hype up Luffy. He was hyping the shit out of Luffy, because the subordinates of Caesar Clown, they were like, yeah, well, look at your Sancho, look at your captain, he just bailed, he jumped shit. And then Usopp's like, are you dissing my captain right now? Are you dissing Monkey D? Capital D. Dot Luffy? No, you ain't. Luffy, that's crazy. I'm stupid. But listen, that's why he's there, just to hype up Luffy. But here's the thing that I didn't like. When it came to the final assault, and Caesar Clown absorbs the Shinokuni, which, by the way, I must point this out, it looks very similar to the way Mori absorbed all the shadows on the Thriller Bark Island. The emergence of Shinokuni is very reminiscent to that of Shadow's Asgard. The only difference between the two is one's a Logia, one's a Paramecia, and one goes and the other one is that's the only difference. They look the same, kind of. One is just big as free, like they're both huge as all hell. They got like 40 feet, like 40-foot necks. They look very similar. So I guess in this sense, maybe when it comes to anime, at least you could say that this is like a rinse and repeat. You really could. I mean, in the manga, I didn't notice it, but in the anime, oh, they look very, very similar. But when Luffy does his Grizzly Magnum, and here's what I'm going to mention, right? Here's the main point that I don't like. I was expecting good animation. I really was. And what they delivered was, I think, subpar when it came to animation. I think it was very, very, very subpar. The animation as a whole in this episode was in fact subpar. There was one scene where it was like they were hyping up Luffy after Caesar Clown saying how, yeah, even the peaceful nations want Shinokuni. Look as I kill my subordinates. Master, no. Master, no. Do I feel bad for them? Kind of, but not really, because they're pirates or they're ex-cons. So no, they've done evil shit themselves. But still, they're dying. Or they're being Shinokuni'd. And Luffy, there's a part where they zoom in on Luffy's face, and that zoom in motion, it was like, really? Like, you could have done a lot better with the animation. But when it came to the Grizzly Magnum, it was like, the way it was depicted in the manga wasn't that good, I'll be honest. But in the anime, wasn't that better. In fact, it was kind of like, you could have done a lot better with the animation. A lot better. And what they did, too, is that they extended it. And you guys know that I'm a huge fan of extended fight scenes. In general, I do prefer when they extend fight scenes. Why? Because usually when they do that, they add combat. They add more combat skits to the storyboard of that fight. And they make it more dynamic, make it more fast-paced. A good example would be as of late when it came to Luffy and Caesar Clown Part 2, where they extended the fight and they added a lot more combat scenes to that storyboard. But in this case, it was basically a grapple. It was like, we'll see, and dun, 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 dun. Come on, no, what? No, and then at the end of it, Luffy, he's sweating, he's like huffing, like, and you're like, wait, no. And that's one thing that I think a lot of manga readers of One Piece don't like when it comes to the anime. When they extend the fight scenes, particularly for Luffy, for Sanji, not the case at all. For Sanji, it's actually kind of like the reverse sometimes. In the case of Zoro, I don't think he's ever gotten an extended fight scene. I know he has with Huzo, but but particularly in the case of Luffy, it makes him seem weaker. In the manga, it's like Grizzly Magnum, Caesar Clown doesn't even contest it. He just gets blasted. He's already crying. He's like, yeah, Grizzly Magnum. Finish him. KO! Yeah. Over. Done. And Luffy just flies back down. Where my boys at? End of story. But in this case, he's like huffing and puffing. I'm like, whoa. What? No. And I think people had a problem with that with Horty Jones too. Because in the Horty Jones fight, it was nowhere even close to that in the manga. The only damage Luffy suffered in that fight was the bite on his shoulder. That was it. After that, it was Elephant Gatling, ahoy, and fuck off. I mean, yeah, he got Red Hawk, he got blasted onto the ship. Then he took energy steroids, turned into that big-ass monster. Try and fuck with Luffy. Luffy dodged off his attacks, then did an Elephant Gatling. Pretty much along those lines. But in the anime, it was like Horty Jones was warping around and shit. Like warp, Luffy, warp, dodge. Another Red Hawk. Then like shark arrows, gets hit by the shark arrows, is falling down, it's like, no, fuck that shit, Elephant Gatling. So the thing about this is that when it comes to the contrast of the two, they make him seem a lot weaker than he actually is. And that pisses off people to high hell. That makes a lot of manga readers upset of One Piece when they actually watch the anime. So I can see why. And in this case, it's the same thing. But only when it came to Horty Jones, I actually like that because it was dynamic. It was dynamic, fast paced. But in this case, no, it was not dynamic. It was like a grappling match. And then it just seemed like very meh at the end. Very meh. And what I will say to end it off is that the Grizzly Magnum is a powerful attack. Because we see him actually blast through that huge, thick, that's what she said, thick steel door of the R building. But it's just that, again, could have been animated way better. So the rating overall, it's an okay episode. It's overall okay. Okay, done. And by the way, I have a discussion video coming out either tomorrow or Tuesday. It's going to be controversial, but then again, I don't think so. Because I think that's what Whitebeard's hinting at anyway. But I'll leave it at that. You'll see. Be on the lookout. Tomorrow or Tuesday, look out. Another One Piece discussion. If you haven't seen the reason why I believe Shanks is the strongest character in One Piece, right here. Bam, boom. So I'm done, King of Lightning. Rate, comment, and subscribe as always. Peace. Episode rating overall is okay. Have a nice day.